Welcome to the Title Deed Desk. This is the first episode. Over this series we work through one document, the title deed, what it is, what it records, when it has to change, and how those changes get done in Dubai without the process turning into a problem. A quick reminder before we start. This is general educational content, not legal advice. Every property carries its own variables, community type, ownership structure, whether there is a mortgage on it. So treat this as a map. Then check your own ground against it. Here is the framing. Most people think the title deed is the thing they own. It is not. What you own is a registered right. The title deed is the evidence of that right. The right lives in the register at the Dubai Land Department. The deed is the certificate that proves what the register says. That distinction sounds academic. It is the most practical thing in this whole series, because once you understand it, everything about changing a deed makes sense. 1. The register is the source of truth. In Dubai, property ownership is recorded in a central register held by the Dubai Land Department. The principle is set out in the Real Property Registration Law of the Emirate. Registration is what makes ownership official. Mant, contract, not the check. And the keys. The moment your name enters the register, you are the owner. The title deed is printed from that record. So when we talk about changing the title deed, we are really talking about two steps. Changing what the register says, then reissuing the deed to match. The deed never changes on its own. It always follows the register. Remember that, and you will never be confused about why a simple correction still needs a formal process. 2. What the deed actually shows. A Dubai title deed is a short document. It names the property, the community, the plot or unit number, the area, and it names the registered owner. If there is more than one owner, it shows the shares. If there is a mortgage, the deed carries that as a registered interest. That is the whole picture. The deed does not show your purchase price history. It does not show your tenancy. It shows ownership and what sits against that ownership today. So any change to the deed is a change to one of those facts. The owner, the shares, the registered interests, or a correction to the property details themselves. 3. What counts as a title deed change? This is where people get the scope wrong. Selling a property is not a deed change. It is a transfer of ownership that is conveyancing, and it lives at conveyance.ae. Gifting a property between family members is also a transfer, a specific kind with its own route at giftingproperty.ae. A title deed change, in the sense we mean across this series, is narrower. It is when ownership stays where it is, but the record needs to move, a spelling that no longer matches your passport. A new title deed after a name change. A replacement for a deed that was lost. An off-plan unit that has completed and needs its first real deed. A correction to a plot detail that was wrong from the start. The owner does not change, the record does. That is the work that desk handles. 4. Why even small changes are formal. People are often surprised that fixing a single letter on a deed is a procedure. The reason goes back to section 1. The deed follows the register. You cannot quietly edit a national ownership record. Every change is logged, verified, and reissued. That formality is not bureaucracy for its own sake. It is what makes your deed worth something. A register anyone could amend would protect no one. So the cost of a clean, hard-to-forge record is that even your corrections go through a door. The good news is that the door is well marked. Most title deed changes are administrative. They are not disputes. They do not need a courtroom, and in the vast majority of cases, they do not need a lawyer. They need the right documents, presented the right way, to the right office. 5. The shape of the rest of this series. Here is where we are going. Next episode, we cover the off-plan moment, when an old becomes a real title deed on handover. Then the situations most owners actually hit: a lost deed, an error on the deed, a name change, the shift from paper to electronic, adding or removing a name, the mortgage line on your deed. We'll finish with the practical too, the document bundle you need, and the reasons changes get rejected, so yours does not. By the end you will know which of these is your situation, what it needs, and when it stops being a deed change and becomes something else. If, at any point, you would rather hand the filing to someone who does it daily, that is what TitleDeed.ae is for. But you will understand the work either way. In the next episode, the off-plan moment. How a unit you bought on a plan becomes a property with a deed in your name. This was the Title Deed Desk.